Hello, my beautiful students. Today we'll be starting our very first proof, which is super exciting. Okay, mathematicians have to prove that things exist, and they do it with this little formal proof. We're going to use a two-column proof is what this is called. But basically, all we're doing on these problems, we're going to start by doing algebraic proofs. What we're going to do is we're going to solve a problem like we normally would. We're going to solve for x. And as we solve it, all we're going to do is explain what we're doing in the reasons column. So we're going to solve in the statements column and explain ourselves in the reasons. And we will prove that in the end, x will be negative 14/5. So this should be my answer when I get done. So if that is not my answer, well, that means probably the demon cats have got me, and I hope that I made it out alive. We'll see. But anyway, so whenever we start a proof, we always start by writing the given. Okay, they always will give you some things to know in advance before you do the proof. So these are things we can safely assume, and these things will help us to solve our problem or to get to the proof. So this is what we're trying to get to. This is what we start with. So the very first thing I always put in my proof is what is given to me, which in this case, I was given the problem. So I'm going to copy down the problem into my statements. Now, we are going to be doing proofs as a class, so you really should only be watching this video if you missed class or you're reviewing or if you want to get ahead. So we are going to do this as a class, so you technically don't have to be doing this right now. But anyway, so our given, I'm going to write this whole thing in my first statement. So I'm going to write 2 times x plus 4 minus 1 equals negative 7 minus 3x. Okay, and then my reason for that, well, is what it was given to me. That's the reason for writing that. It was given to me. So my reason is going to be what was given to me, the given. Okay, so that will be my very first thing in my proof. Now, at the very bottom, what we're trying to get to is what I'm trying to prove, which is this. The very last step in my proof, the last thing I'm going to write is this. So this is always the final thing in your proof. Now, the reason is not going to be proved. That should never, ever be your reason. Okay, there'll be a reason in the step before that tells us, well, how did I get from this step to my final step? And that's what I'm going to write with my final statement. Okay, but I don't want to put it on here yet because I don't know how many lines I'm going to use. So, but this should be the very final thing I put in my proof. So get excited. All right, let's do this thing, you guys. So we are basically solving for x right now. So if you are going to solve for x, what would be the very first thing you would do? Me too, you guys. I would do that too. We're like besties, apparently, or we think quite alike, so we might be twins. I don't know. Guys, so the first thing I would do is to distribute the 2 to each of these terms. So I'm going to distribute 2 to x and 2 to 4. So what I'm going to get, I write what I get in my next line. So what I get is 2x plus 8, and I'm going to bring everything on down. So minus 1 equals negative 7 minus 3x. Okay, and all I'm going to do right here is explain, well, what did I do to get from the previous statement to this statement? Or what did I do? What steps did I take to get from here to here? Well, I distributed. So the property that we're using is the distributed property. So I'm going to write that bad boy right here. We did the distributed property. So when we fill out our reasons, you guys are using all the definitions, theorems, properties that we've talked about up to this point. So if you have your nifty note sheet for this section that has all your definitions, all your reasons, all your theorems, all your properties, that might be helpful to pull out your note sheet so you can kind of see which property we are using each time. Okay, so that's my next step. Yes, I'm getting closer. Now, what would be the next thing you do to solve for x? Which, there's a lot of things that you guys can do. Don't think that what I do is the only way to do this. As long as you're solving for x and as long as you get this as your answer, you can go about doing this any way you feel like. Well, me personally, I like to combine my like terms before I start moving things around to opposite sides of the equation. So, do you spot any like terms on my left-hand side of the equation? Look at this, you guys. A and -1 are my like terms. So what is 8 minus 1? It would be 7. Nice job, you guys. Okay, so I have 2x. I'm going to bring everything else on down. 2x plus 7 equals -7 minus 3x. Now, the next reason I'm going to write, this is something we have not talked about yet. So this should be something brand new. The concept is not brand new, and you've probably heard this word, but this word is not in your notes packet. So, whenever you simplify things, that means that you are combining like terms on one side of the equation. Okay, so if you add, subtract, multiply, divide, only on one side of the equation, our reason's going to be simplify. Now, this is not subtraction because the subtraction property states we subtracted on both sides of the equation. We did not subtract on both sides of the equation. So like the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division property, we use those if you do that on both sides of the equation. If you only do it on one side, the reason is going to be we simplified. So I'm going to write simplify over here. All right, let's keep going, you guys. We're doing great. We're doing great. Let's keep going. All right, again, I'm solving for x. So what would be the next thing you would do to solve for x? I would too, you guys. We just think so much alike. That's awesome. Okay, so I like to join my x's together first, which currently this -3x is on the opposite side as the 2x. So I'm going to bring -3x to the other side by adding this thing on both sides. All right, which -3x plus 3x cancels in terms of 0. 2x plus 3x is 5x. So I'm going to bring everything on down. So I get 5x plus 7 equals -7. All right, and since I added on both sides of my equation, what property do you guys think I just used? Holy hot dog, you guys are brilliant. I did add on both sides, which means I'm using the addition property. Yay! Addition property. All right, let's keep on going. So I'm trying to get x on one side by itself. Currently, that +7 is getting in the way, so I need to move that thing to the other side. So the way that I would move +7 to the other side is by subtracting it on both sides. All right, 7 minus 7 cancels in terms of 0. -7 minus 7 more will give me -14. So I'm left with 5x. 5x equals -14. Oh, man. And since I subtracted on both sides of my equation, that means I'm using the, you guys said it, the subtraction property. Way to go, you guys. The subtraction property. Okay, so we're almost there. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. All right. All right. The final thing I need to do, sorry, I did not talk. The final thing I need to do is get x by itself, which currently that 5 is in the way. So that 5 is secretly multiplying to the x. So the way that you're going to move 5 to the other side is by dividing on both sides. By 5. That's a 5 if you can't see it. So 5 divided by 5 will cancel. And I'm left with, guess what, you guys? What I'm trying to prove. This should always be the final thing in your proof, which I have ended up with -14/5. Oh, man, this is so exciting. All right, so my final answer will be x equals -14/5. All right, and again, I have to explain myself, but remember, this last step should never be proved. I know the first one always says given, okay, but the last one will never say the word prove. If you put prove in this space right here, the demon cats are coming for you, so watch yourself. All right, so my final step, what did I do to get my 5 to the other side? Well, you're correct. I did divide on both sides, so that means we will be using the, let's say it together, division property. Yay, we said it together. So since we divided on both sides, we just use the division property. And guess what, you guys? Since we love proof so much, you're always going to end your proof with something. Now, formal mathematicians always end their proofs with these double slashes. Okay, that means it's done. It's finished. But, you know, I think the double line thing is a little boring. So since I love proofs, I end my proofs with a happy face because I love proofs. So I would go ahead and end your proof since you had so much fun with a happy face. Or, you know, you could throw in a cat or other things that make you happy, like love or something. Whatever, but I always end my proofs with a happy face. So again, this is the formal way to do it, but I prefer to end it with happy pictures. So go ahead and end your proof with something that makes you feel happy. All right, way to go, you guys.